and dropping it to the problem list, which will continue to build the problem list of the patient, also eventually showing up in the patient chart. Notice that the diagnosis code also appears along with the assessment and is documented in the assessment within the sentence view accordingly. Here the doctor can type in any additional notes or dictate any additional notes for the assessment or clinical impression. In addition, SequelMed also allows you to add shortcuts. So for example, you can select your own shortcuts and view them by right mouse clicking View Shortcuts. From here you can select, for example, ABCD, which means patient needs further treatment. It will insert that in sentence view accordingly. When completed the assessment, the physician can now move on to the plan section of the template, which is comprised of smaller sections, lab, medication, as well as others depending on your workflow. A lab can be ordered by simply clicking on the drop down. In this case, we want to order a chest x-ray, which opens up a lab window based on the primary diagnosis of asthma today. Priority is routine or urgent, and any other additional information that you need to fill in order to order this test. If it is going electronically, then you will select the laboratory that it will be going to electronically, for example, Quest Diagnostics. If it was a specimen-based result, then you would put in the specimen-related information. Click on OK, and that would order the test, which can then be printed or sent electronically to the lab company. Similarly with medication, you can order prescribed medication by clicking on this Add Medication, which opens the little medication window, and select the drug for which you want to prescribe. For example, in this case, we'll prescribe Advair. Notice that as soon as Advair is selected, a red blinker appears, which allows you to view all the prospective alerts, contraindications, drug alerts, drug food alerts, and you can view exactly the severity of contraindication as well as any professional and clinical document notes. Once the medication is selected, it also comes with its script or SIG, which is appearing over here. You can also customize your own SIGs. By clicking on this Add button, let's say if you wanted to change the SIG to say 3 times per day, you can make this change to 3 times and then click on Add, which will ask you, are you sure you want to save this information as a custom SIG? You will click on yes, and next time it will be available for you to select. You can select how many refills you want, do you want it dispensed as written, and if you want your DEA number to be printed on the prescription pad. Just like with lab, you can also select the pharmacy. As long as the pharmacy is e-prescription enabled, that pharmacy can be selected to send the prescription electronically. You can write any patient instructions, any clinical instructions, or pharmacy instructions in their respective areas and click on OK, which will then order the medication. You can also perform any health maintenance within SequelMed EMR. If you want this patient to follow up after a certain time, let's say for example 6 months, you can select that, and it will also appear in the sentence view noting that the patient needs to follow up in 6 months. Similarly, if you want any recommendations for this patient, for example, this patient should avoid prolonged sitting, or should this patient be taking proper rest, you can select the appropriate recommendation and it will appear in the sentence view accordingly. You may also apply health maintenance protocols to this patient. So for example, you can apply a protocol of asthma to this patient, which in this case we see that it has already been applied. In addition, you can also give health education material to the patient. A lot of times while walking out, patient needs reading material, which you can give to this patient while walking out. Hence, I will assign asthma health education material so that this patient can be given that reading material. Notice that all of this information has now been entered in the sentence view in the form of a progress note, which can be customized according to your own requirements in terms of both view as well as its appearance. Having completed the assessment and plan, the physician is now ready to do the electronic encounter, which is available by clicking on this encounter form. You can load your own encounter as you wish and order them in the way you want to see it. Notice that asthma is already selected from the assessment. You can then run an E&M evaluator on this visit, which will give you the level of visit based on the clinical documentation that you have done, as well as the time of the appointment. So for example, we will select that this was an office visit established, click on generate, which will then give me the appropriate code based on the documentation. Of course, it is up to the decision of the physician to submit with this suggested code or select the code on their own. If you decide to select on your own, you can just check it off under the CPT section, which will then appear at the bottom with under EMR charges. From here, you can click on Ready to Bill, which will go directly into the SequelMed practice management system with its seamless integration, or you can hold off to do Ready to Bill later. The physician can also view the complete note in the sentence view and sign off on the note once he is completed his full documentation. Until the note has been signed off and ready to bill, it will remain in the physician's pending documents. So notice that the document that we opened today is seen here in the pending documents until those two actions are performed. So it serves as a reminder for the physician that he or she needs to go back and complete this document either in terms of signing off or billing. Meantime, we are back at the front desk where the patient is ready to be checked out. The front desk person will click on the checkout button, which will open a comprehensive checkout window with all the different information that was documented through the visit. The front desk person can verify all the information, schedule any follow-up appointments, and click on OK, which will then move the patient out of the patient status window, denoting that the patient has been checked out. This completes our typical patient workflow from the time the patient checks in to the time the patient checks out. In addition to this, there are many other features in the EMR, specifically patient chart, which is an electronic format of your regular manual chart. A patient chart can be customized just as we customize the dashboard, and you can view various elements of the patient, visits, patient notes, medications, complaints, etc. This patient chart can also be viewed in the form of a flow sheet, and as the name suggests, it shows the flow or the progress of patient over a period of time, for which you can also be selective in terms of the criteria. If you want to see any particular section, you can select that. You can also select the time period that you want to see. In addition, you can graphically chart various values. For example, if you want to see how this patient's height and weight has fluctuated over a period of time, you can select those two values by holding the control key down and clicking on chart, which will then give you a graphical representation of the values that you have selected. We hope that you have enjoyed this brief presentation of SequelMed EMR. We thank you for your interest in SequelMed, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. For more information, please call 1-800-965-2728 or visit us on our website at www.sequelmed.com.